Sarah, look at me. Don't leave me here. Not like this.
Ethan Cole's hands shook as he stripped the frozen clothes off the dying woman. Her lips were blue. Her skin felt like ice. He had maybe an hour before frostbite took her fingers, maybe less, before her heart stopped completely. 3 years ago, he'd watched his wife die because he wasn't there. Tonight, he'd be damned if he let another woman slip away.
You're safe
He
here.
worked faster, his own coat already wrapped around her thin frame, his last bit of firewood crackling in the stove. Saving her might kill them both, but leaving her wasn't an
You
option.
take this woman to be
Not
your
for a man
lawfully
like
wedded
him.
wife, in sickness
Before we
and in
begin,
health.
please subscribe and hit that notification bell. This story gets more incredible
Sarah,
with
look at me.
every minute.
Don't leave
And
me
comment
here.
below what city
Not
you're
like
watching
this.
from, so I can see how far this story travels. Now, let's dive in. The December wind cut through Ethan Cole like 1,000 knives as he stepped off the platform at Mercy Station. His breath fogged the air thick and white. The last passenger had disappeared into the blizzard 5 minutes ago. The station master had locked up and gone home. The oil lamp on the wall flickered, fighting against the darkness that pressed in from all sides. Ethan pulled his collar tighter. The supplies he'd come for hadn't arrived. Again. 3rd time this month. The railroad was unreliable, the winter was brutal, and his luck had run out about 3 years ago. He turned toward his horse Duke tied up by the water trough. That's when he saw her. A woman slumped on the wooden bench. Her head tilted at an unnatural angle, her arms hung limp at her sides. Snow had already started to pile up on her shoulders. Ethan stopped walking. His heart kicked hard against his ribs. "Miss," he called out. His voice disappeared into the wind. She didn't move. He approached slowly, boots crunching on the frozen ground. As he got closer, details emerged. A nurse's uniform, stained dark with something that looked like blood. A leather medical bag clutched in her right hand, her fingers frozen around the handle. Her lips were blue. Ice crystals clung to her eyelashes and hair. Ethan crouched down beside her. He touched her shoulder gently. Cold. So cold it burned his fingers through his glove. "Miss, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open just barely, unfocused, confused, terrified. "The child," she whispered. Her voice was so faint, he almost missed it. I tried to save the child." Then her eyes rolled back and closed again. Ethan pressed 2 fingers against her neck, searching for a pulse. There. Weak and slow, but there. Her breathing came in shallow, irregular gasps. Frostbite darkened her fingertips. Her cheeks looked waxy and pale. His mind started calculating. The calculations every poor man knows by heart. His cabin sat 2 hours away through deadly cold. He had firewood for maybe a week if he stretched it thin. Food for 2 weeks if he ate sparingly. Taking her in would mean sharing both. It would mean risking his own survival for a complete stranger. But leaving her here meant certain death. The wind howled louder. Snow began to fall harder, fat flakes that stuck to everything. Ethan looked at the woman's face. Young. Maybe late 20s. She'd been pretty once before hunger and cold, and whatever tragedy brought her here had hollowed out her cheeks. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "A man's not measured by what he owns, son. He's measured by what he does when nobody's watching, when it costs him something real." Ethan pulled off his only coat. The cold hit him immediately, stealing his breath. He wrapped the coat around her thin frame, tucking it carefully around her shoulders. "Don't know who you are, stranger," he said quietly, "but dying alone ain't right for nobody." He lifted her. She weighed almost nothing, lighter than a woman should weigh. How long had she been without food? He carried her to Duke and positioned her across the saddle. Her medical bag he tied carefully beside her. Whatever was in there mattered to her. He could see it in the way her frozen fingers still gripped the handle. Ethan climbed up behind her, pulling her back against his chest to keep her steady, to share what little warmth his body still had. "You hold on," he said into her unhearing ear. "You hear me. You hold on." Duke knew the way home even in the dark. Ethan gave him his head and focused on keeping the woman upright. The station lamp grew smaller behind them. The snow fell harder, erasing their tracks as fast as Duke made them. "God help us both," Ethan muttered into the wind. The woman's heart still beat against his arm. Faint, irregular, but beating. That was enough. For now. The ride home stretched into eternity. Every minute felt like an hour. The cold seeped deeper into Ethan's bones. His hands went numb. His face burned. Without his coat, the wind cut straight through his shirt. The woman mumbled things he couldn't understand. Names, maybe. Apologies. "I'm sorry," she said more than once. "I'm so sorry." "Save your strength," Ethan told her, knowing she couldn't hear. Duke pushed through the snow, steady and sure-footed. Good horse. Best horse Ethan had ever owned. He'd raised Duke from a colt back when Grace was still alive. Back when the future looked different. Don't think about Grace. Not now. The cabin appeared through the snow like a ghost. Small, dark, leaking smoke from the chimney that meant the fire was nearly out. Ethan dismounted carefully, pulling the woman down with him. She was completely unconscious now. Her breathing had gotten worse, slower, more labored. He kicked the door open and carried her inside. The cabin was barely warmer than outside. One room, a bed in the corner, a stove, a table with 2 chairs, some shelves with dishes and supplies, photos on the mantel above the stove. Ethan laid her on the bed. His only bed. Then he turned to the stove and started building a fire with numb, shaking hands. The kindling was damp. It didn't want to catch. He coaxed it, breathed on it, prayed over it. Finally a flame, small and weak but alive. He fed it carefully until it grew stronger. Steam rose from the woman as the snow on her uniform began to melt. Ethan worked quickly now. He'd seen frostbite before, knew what needed to be done. He peeled off her outer clothes. The uniform was soaked through and frozen in places. He tried not to look too closely, tried to maintain some kind of decency, even though decency might be the difference between life and death. He wrapped her in his wife's old quilt, the one Grace had made from scraps, blue and white squares, each one stitched with love. Don't think about Grace. He pulled his only other blanket over that. Then he stoked the fire higher. The woman started to shiver. Violent, full-body shaking. "That's good," Ethan said aloud. "Shivering means you're fighting. Keep fighting." He heated water on the stove, made weak broth from dried beef and onions. Not much, but something. When the broth was ready, he lifted her head and tried to get some between her lips. Most of it ran down her chin, but some went down. Some was better than none. Night fell. Ethan pulled the chair beside the bed and sat down. He checked her breathing every few minutes, counted the beats of her pulse, watched for signs of change. She started to fever around midnight. "No," Ethan said. "No, no, no." Fever after frostbite was bad, real bad. It meant infection was setting in. It meant her body was fighting battles on too many fronts. He cooled her forehead with a damp cloth, changed it when it got too warm, forced more broth down her throat. She thrashed in the bed, called out names. "Elizabeth! Where's Elizabeth? I need to check on Elizabeth." "Easy now," Ethan said, holding her shoulders down gently. "You're safe. You're safe." "I chose wrong," she sobbed, still asleep. "I chose wrong and he died. Oh God, he died." "You didn't choose wrong," Ethan said, even though he had no idea what she was talking about. "Whatever happened, you did your best." He worked through the night, the fire, the broth, the cooling cloths. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but he didn't dare sleep, didn't dare look away. The next day blurred into the one after. She stayed fevered, delirious. Her fingers started to show signs of deep frostbite, black edges on the tips. Ethan did what he could, kept them clean, kept them wrapped. On the third night she finally slept without thrashing. Her breathing evened out. The fever broke. Ethan slumped in the chair, relief washing over him so strong it made him dizzy. She was going to live. Maybe not with all 10 fingers, but she was going to live. He let himself sleep, just for a minute. When he woke, the sun was up. Morning light streamed through the cabin's single window, and the woman was awake, staring at him with wide, terrified eyes. She sat up fast, scanning the unfamiliar room. The rough furniture, the leaking roof, the photos on the mantel. Her gaze landed on her medical bag, sitting carefully beside the bed. "Where am I?" Her voice was hoarse, raw. "Who are you?" Ethan stood up slowly, raising his hands peacefully. "You're safe, ma'am. I found you frozen, nearly dead at Mercy Station. Brought you back here. This is my cabin." She stared at him, breathing hard, deciding whether to trust. "I'm Ethan Cole," he said. "This is my land. What's left of it anyway?" Her eyes went back to the medical bag. "My bag. You didn't touch it." "Figured it was important to you," Ethan said. "Didn't seem right to go through a lady's things." Some of the fear left her face. She slumped back against the thin pillow. "Thank you," she whispered. Then louder, "Thank you. I'm Charlotte Ashford. Most people call me Lottie." Ethan nodded. "Miss Ashford." "Just Lottie." He moved to the stove, added another log. "You were in bad shape. Frostbite on your fingers. Fever for 3 days. You're lucky to be breathing." Lottie looked down at her bandaged hands. The cloth was torn from an old shirt wrapped carefully around each finger. "You did this." "Did what I could. I ain't a doctor." "You probably saved my fingers." Her voice cracked. "Maybe my life." Ethan turned from the fire. "Don't need thanks. Just need to know you're going to be all right." Lottie's gaze drifted to the photos on the mantel. A young woman holding an infant, both smiling, the frame covered in dust. "Your family?" she asked quietly. "Was," Ethan said. The single word carried 3 years of grief. Lottie looked at him, really looked at him, saw the worn clothes, the calloused hands, the eyes that had seen too much sorrow. "I'm sorry," she said. "No need." Ethan sat back down in the chair. "But I got to be straight with you. I've got food for maybe 2 weeks if we're careful. Winter's only half over. You're welcome to stay till you're strong enough to move on, but it won't be comfortable." Lottie pushed herself up to sitting. Every muscle in her body protested. "Then I won't be a burden long. I'm a nurse, a real one trained in Philadelphia. I can earn my keep." Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Not quite hope, but close to it. "We'll figure it out," he said. "Mr. Cole." "Ethan." "Ethan." She tested the name. "I don't remember much. Just the cold. And before that," she closed her eyes. "There was a child on the train, sick, burning with fever. I tried to help, but the mother didn't have money for medicine. The conductor put me off at Mercy Station when I argued with him. Said I was causing trouble." "Some men got no decency," Ethan said quietly. "I was going to walk to town, but the storm came up so fast." Lottie's voice shook. "I thought I was going to die there, on that bench, alone." "You didn't. Because of you." Ethan stood up. "I'll fix something to eat. You need food, real food." He moved around the small cabin with an economy of motion that spoke of years living alone. Every movement had a purpose, nothing wasted. Lottie watched him. This man who'd saved her life. This stranger who'd given up his coat, his bed, his food. "Why?" she asked. Ethan looked back at her. "Why what?" "Why did you help me? You don't know me, and it's clear you don't have much to spare." Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, 3 years ago, my wife Grace went into labor early. I was away buying horses, trying to build up the ranch, make something for us." He stared at the photos on the mantel, By the time I got back, it was too late. She died. Our daughter died. I wasn't there. Lottie's throat tightened. I can't change what happened then, Ethan continued. But I can make sure I'm the kind of man who doesn't ride past someone in need. That's all. He turned back to the stove. End of conversation. Lottie lay back down. Her body ached. Her fingers throbbed. But for the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something other than fear and shame. She felt safe. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the fire crackled. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them was completely alone. The next morning, Lottie insisted on getting up. Ethan tried to make her rest, but she was stubborn. I've been in bed 3 days, she said. If I don't move, I'll lose what strength I have left. She stood slowly, gripping the edge of the bed. The room spun. Her legs shook. Ethan caught her elbow. Easy. I'm fine. You're weak as a newborn calf. I'm a nurse. I know my own condition. But she didn't pull away from his steadying hand. They made it to the table. Lottie sat down heavily in one of the 2 chairs. Ethan poured her weak coffee from the pot on the stove. It's not good coffee, he warned. I don't care. She wrapped both hands around the cup, savoring the warmth. They sat in silence. Ethan whittled a piece of wood. Lottie sipped coffee and looked around the cabin. It was sparse, but clean. Everything in its place. The kind of order that comes from living alone and having too much time to think. Your shoulder, Lottie said suddenly. Ethan looked up. What about it? The left one. You favor it. And the way you reached for the coffee pot just now, you've got limited range of motion. That's an old break that didn't heal right. Ethan set down his knife. Horse threw me last summer. Came down on it hard. You never had it set properly. Couldn't afford a doctor. Lottie leaned forward. I can fix it. It'll hurt. A lot. But I can manipulate the joint back into better alignment. Give you most of your mobility back. Why would you do that? Because you saved my life, and because I'm a nurse. It's what I do. Ethan studied her face, searching for something. All right, he said finally. But not till you're stronger. Deal. Over the next few days, they fell into a rhythm. Ethan did the heavy work, chopping wood, feeding Duke, checking the property line. Lottie did what she could inside. She mended his torn clothes with careful, precise stitches. She organized his supplies. She made the cabin feel less like a place a man was waiting to die and more like a home. On the 4th day, she started working on his shoulder. Ethan sat shirtless on the chair while Lottie stood behind him, her strong fingers probing the joint. It's going to hurt, she warned. I figured. She pushed. Hard. Ethan's vision went white with pain. He gritted his teeth so hard he thought they might crack. Breathe, Lottie said. Don't hold your breath. He forced himself to breathe. In, out, in, out. She worked for 10 minutes, kneading, manipulating, carefully coaxing the joint back toward proper alignment. When she finished, Ethan's face was gray with pain. Sweat ran down his temples. Try lifting your arm, Lottie said. He did, slowly. It went higher than it had in months. I'll be damned, Ethan said. We'll do this every day for 2 weeks. It'll keep hurting, but it'll get better. Thank you. Lottie squeezed his good shoulder gently. You're welcome. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Ethan opened it to find Martha Hatcher standing on the porch. She was a sturdy woman in her late 50s with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense manner. Martha, Ethan said, this is a surprise. Heard you brought home a woman, Martha said bluntly. She looked past him into the cabin. Figured I should come see if you'd lost your mind or found your heart. Lottie appeared beside Ethan. I'm Charlotte Ashford. Lottie. Martha looked her up and down like she was evaluating livestock. You're the frozen nurse from the station. That's me? You planning to stay? If Ethan will have me. Martha turned to Ethan. Town won't like this. You know that. Unmarried woman under your roof. Silas Blackwood especially won't like it. He's been looking for reasons to get your land." "I know," Ethan said. Martha set down a basket she'd been carrying. Preserves, dried meat, some flour. "Then you'd best be prepared for trouble." She looked at Lottie again. Girl's got purpose in her eyes. That's more than most folks got around here. You'll do all right if you're smart about it. After Martha left, Lottie turned to Ethan. "Who's Silas Blackwood?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Man who owns the bank, and about half the land in the valley. He's been trying to buy me out for 2 years. I keep saying no. Why does he want your land so badly? Railroad's coming through. This valley's the best route. My land sits right in the path. He wants to buy it cheap, sell it high to the railroad, make a fortune off other people's hard work." Lottie looked out the window at the snow-covered land. "What are you going to do?" "Same thing I've been doing. Keep saying no." Ethan met her eyes. "Unless you being here gives him ammunition, in which case I need to know now. I won't have you shamed on my account." Lottie's chin came up. "I'm staying. If you'll let me. I'll work. I'll see patients. I'll earn my way. Let people talk. Let them think what they want. I've been judged before. I'll survive it again." Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding. A partnership. "All right then," Ethan said. "We do this together." "Together?" Lottie agreed. That night, Ethan slept in the barn with Duke, maintaining propriety. But as he lay in the hay watching lamplight glow from the cabin window, he felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Inside the cabin, Lottie stood at the window, one hand pressed against the cold glass, looking toward the barn, thinking about the man who'd saved her, the good man with sad eyes who'd asked for nothing in return. She touched the bandages on her fingers, felt the steady beat of her own heart. She was alive. Against all odds, against all reason. And maybe, just maybe, she'd found something worth living for. Word spread through Salvation Ridge like wildfire in dry grass. Martha Hatcher saw to that, though not in the way most people spread gossip. She spoke plainly about what she'd seen. A nurse who'd nearly died. A decent man who'd saved her. Nothing scandalous about it when you laid out the facts. But facts didn't matter much when people wanted to believe something else. By the end of January, 3 families had come to Ethan's cabin. Desperate families. The kind who couldn't afford Dr. Augustus Wilder's fees. The kind who'd watched their children suffer because medicine cost more than food. The first was a woman named Rebecca Torres. She arrived at dawn breathless and terrified, carrying her 4-year-old son. The boy's breathing came in wheezes and gasps. His lips had a bluish tint. "Please," Rebecca said, tears streaming down her face. "Dr. Wilder says it'll cost $5. I don't have $5. I don't have anything." Lottie took the boy immediately. She worked quickly, heating water for steam, creating a tent with blankets over the stove. She positioned the child so he could breathe the moist air. She made a poultice from herbs Martha had included in her basket and applied it to his chest. Ethan watched from the doorway. Watched Lottie move with confidence and precision. This was who she was meant to be. The crisis lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of Lottie barely moving from the boy's side, checking his breathing, adjusting the steam, murmuring encouragement. "You're doing so well, sweetheart. Just keep breathing for me. That's it. Nice and slow." By afternoon, the blue tint had faded. The wheezing eased. The boy fell into natural sleep instead of the half-conscious struggle he'd been fighting. Rebecca sobbed with relief. "I don't know how to thank you. I don't have money, but I have eggs, and my husband can help with repairs. Anything you need." "Eggs would be wonderful," Lottie said gently. "And tell other mothers, if their children are sick and they can't afford the doctor, they can come here. I'll never turn anyone away." After Rebecca left, Ethan stood beside Lottie at the window. "You know what you just did, don't you? I helped a sick child." You declared war on Silas Blackwood. Lottie turned to face him. How do you figure? Dr. Wilder pays Blackwood rent on his office. Blackwood owns the building. If people start coming here instead of paying Wilder's fees, Blackwood loses money. He won't like that. Then he shouldn't charge so much. People have to choose between medicine and food. Ethan couldn't help but smile. You got fire in you, I'll give you that. My father used to say if you're going to make enemies, make them for the right reasons. Your father sounds like a smart man. Lottie's expression darkened. He was, before I shamed him. What happened in Boston? Ethan asked quietly. You don't have to tell me, but it might help if I know what we're dealing with. Lottie was silent for a long moment. Then she sat down at the table and told him everything. I worked for the Vandermeer family, old New York money, the kind of people who have servants for their servants. Mr. Garrett Vandermeer was dying. Cancer. He had maybe days left, and those days were going to be agony no matter what I did. She stared at her bandaged hands. Their housemaid had a daughter, 8 years old, sweet little thing named Annie. She came down with pneumonia, treatable if caught early, but the Vandermeers didn't want me wasting time on a servant's child. So you chose, Ethan said. I chose. I stabilized Mr. Vandermeer as best I could, and then I went to Annie. I got her through the crisis. Saved her life. Lottie's voice hardened. Mr. Vandermeer died while I was with her, and the family destroyed me for it. Said I murdered their father, that I chose wrong, that a nobody wasn't worth a somebody. But you knew, Ethan said. You knew he was dying anyway. He told me himself the week before, said he was ready, said he'd lived a full life and didn't want to suffer anymore. But his family didn't care about that. They cared about appearances, about control, about making sure people like Annie knew their place. So they ran you out of Boston. Blacklisted me from every hospital. Made sure no family would hire me. My own father stopped speaking to me. Said I'd brought shame on our name. Lottie looked up at Ethan. So I came west, because there was nowhere else to go. And now here I am, about to make the same choice all over again, except this time I'm choosing everyone, every child, every mother, every person who needs help and can't afford it. Ethan reached across the table and covered her hand with his. Then we'd best prepare for the storm. The second family came 3 days later. A rancher named Tom Sullivan with an infected wound on his leg that wouldn't heal. Dr. Wilder had told him it needed to be amputated. Tom couldn't afford the surgery. He'd come to die at home. Lottie examined the leg carefully. The infection was bad, real bad, but not quite bad enough for amputation. I can try to save it, she said, but it's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever felt, and there's no guarantee it'll work. Tom looked at his wife, then at his 3 children standing in the corner. Do it! Lottie sent the children outside, boiled her instruments, had Ethan hold Tom down while she cut away the dead tissue and drained the infection. Tom screamed, actually screamed, but he didn't pass out and he didn't quit. When it was done, Lottie packed the wound with clean bandages and gave Tom's wife careful instructions. Change the dressing twice a day. Keep it clean. If the redness spreads or he gets fever, come back immediately. 2 weeks later, Tom returned. Walking. The leg had healed. He brought a side of venison and lumber for repairs. You're a miracle worker, he said. I'm just a nurse who cares enough to try. But word spread. The nurse at the coal place could do what Dr. Wilder couldn't or wouldn't. She didn't charge fees people couldn't pay. She treated everyone the same. By mid-February, Lottie was seeing patients almost every day. Ethan built her a proper examination area in the corner of the cabin. Clean table, good light, space for her supplies. They worked side by side. Ethan did the heavy labor while Lottie tended the sick. He taught her how to split wood properly. She showed him how to clean wounds without whiskey. Boiled water and clean cloth works better, she explained. And it doesn't waste good whiskey. Grace used to say that. Your wife was a smart woman. She was. Ethan paused in his work. You remind me of her sometimes, not in looks, but in the way you care, the way you see people as worth saving. Lottie felt her cheeks warm. That's quite a compliment. It's the truth. One afternoon they worked together repairing the leaking roof. Ethan on the ladder, Lottie handing up shingles. You're putting that one on crooked, Lottie said. I'm doing it just fine. It's crooked. Ethan looked down at her. You questioning my carpentry skills. I can fix bones, you fix roofs, but that doesn't mean I can't tell when something's crooked. Ethan laughed, actually laughed. The sound surprised them both. When's the last time you laughed like that? Lottie asked. The smile faded from Ethan's face. Been a while. You should do it more often. It suits you. Something passed between them, something warm and uncertain and full of possibility. Ethan cleared his throat and turned back to the roof, but his hands shook slightly as he hammered the next nail. That evening, as they prepared dinner together, Lottie asked, Tell me about Grace. Ethan froze. Why? Because she's part of this place, part of you, and if I'm going to stay, I should know. Ethan was quiet for so long, Lottie thought he wouldn't answer. Then he started talking. Met her at a church social. She was 17. I was 19. She had this laugh, like bells ringing, made everyone around her smile. He stirred the pot on the stove. We married a year later, built this cabin together, every log, every nail. It was ours. She sounds wonderful. She was. Patient, kind, strong in ways I didn't appreciate till she was gone. Ethan's voice roughened. When she got pregnant, I thought I had everything. A wife, a baby coming, land, a future. But you left. I left. Johnson over in Cheyenne had breeding horses for sale. Good stock. I thought if I could build up the herd we'd have security, something to pass down to our child. He stopped stirring. I was gone 5 days. She went into labor on day 3. Neighbor woman tried to help, but something went wrong. By the time I got back... Lottie moved beside him, didn't touch him. Just stood there. I buried them together, Ethan said. Grace and our daughter. Never even got to name her, never got to hold her. Ethan, you couldn't have known. That's what Martha says, what everyone says. But knowing it in your head, don't make your heart believe it. No, Lottie agreed quietly. It doesn't. They stood in silence. The stew bubbled on the stove. Outside, the sun set behind the mountains, painting the snow orange and pink. You asked why I helped you that night at the station, Ethan said. Truth is, I saw grace in you, not in looks, but in the situation. Someone dying because they were alone, because nobody was there. He finally looked at her. I couldn't save Grace, but I could save you. Had to mean something. Lottie's eyes filled with tears. It means everything. That night, something shifted between them. A wall came down. They talked late into the evening, about their pasts, their regrets, their hopes for whatever future might still be possible. Do you think we get second chances? Lottie asked. I'm looking at mine right now. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Lottie stood to go to bed. As she passed Ethan's chair, she paused, rested her hand on his shoulder, just for a moment. Thank you, she said, for seeing me as worth saving. Thank you for staying. February brought more patience and more tension. Dr. Wilder showed up one morning riding a fine black horse. He dismounted slowly, his elderly frame stiff from the cold. Mr. Cole, he said formally. Miss Ashford. Dr. Wilder, Lottie replied, wiping her hands on her apron. What brings you out here? Professional courtesy. May I come in? They sat at the table. Dr. Wilder accepted coffee, but didn't drink it. "I want you to know I don't bear you any ill will," he said to Lottie. "In fact, I admire what you're doing. But Silas Blackwood came to see me yesterday. He's not happy about the situation." "What situation?" Ethan asked, "Patients choosing to come here instead of my office. He says it's bad for business. Says if it continues, he'll raise my rent. Might even look for a new doctor willing to be more aggressive about collecting fees." "That's not your fault," Lottie said. "No, but it affects me nonetheless." Dr. Wilder finally looked at her. "I came to warn you. Blackwood's not a forgiving man, and he doesn't lose gracefully. Whatever he's planning, it won't be straightforward. He'll come at you sideways." "Let him come," Ethan said. "You say that now, but he owns the bank, the general store, half the land in this valley. He can make life very difficult for people who cross him." After Dr. Wilder left, Lottie turned to Ethan. "Maybe I should go. I don't want to cause you more trouble than I'm worth." "Don't." Ethan's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare make that decision for me." "But you think I care what Silas Blackwood thinks. You think I care about town gossip." He stood up, paced to the window. 3 years I've been half dead, going through the motions, waiting for something to change or waiting to die. Didn't much care which." He turned back to her. "Then you showed up, and suddenly I got a reason to chop wood, a reason to fix the roof, a reason to get up in the morning that ain't just surviving till the next day." Lottie's breath caught. "So no," Ethan said firmly. "You're not leaving. Not unless you want to, not because you think you're protecting me. I'm a grown man. I make my own choices, and I choose this. I choose you being here." "Ethan, I ain't finished. You saved Rebecca's boy. You saved Tom Sullivan's leg. You're doing more good in this valley in 2 months than most people do in a lifetime. If standing with you costs me this land, so be it. Land can be bought again. But you—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "There ain't another you." Lottie crossed the room, stood in front of him, close enough to feel the heat from his body. "When I left Boston," she said quietly, "I thought I'd never matter to anyone again. Thought I'd spend the rest of my life running from what I'd done, trying to make up for choosing wrong. You didn't choose wrong. I know that now, because you showed me what right looks like. What it looks like when someone sees people as worth saving just because they're people." She reached up and touched his face. "You gave me that gift. Let me stay. Let me fight this with you." "Together?" Ethan asked. "Together." The word felt like a promise, like a vow. They stood there close enough to kiss, but neither moved. Not yet. There was time. They had time. Or so they thought. The first Sunday in February changed everything. Ethan and Lottie stayed home from church. They'd made that choice deliberately, avoiding gossip, staying out of sight. But Martha Hatcher went, and she came back at noon with a face like thunder. "It started," she said without preamble. She pushed past Ethan into the cabin. "What started?" Lottie asked. "Blackwood made his move, stood up during service and called your arrangement immoral, said it's a stain on Salvation Ridge's Christian character." Martha's voice shook with anger. "He demanded Ethan send you away within 7 days or face consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Ethan asked. "Credit denial, social ostracism. He hinted at legal action for harboring an unmarried woman improperly." Martha sat down heavily. "Several families who'd come here for treatment spoke up for him. They're afraid of losing their credit at the bank, afraid of Blackwood's power." "How many families?" Lottie asked. 5 or 6. The Hendersons, the Pratts, the Williams family." "And who spoke for us?" "Me and Henry, Tom Sullivan, Rebecca Torres. The poorest families, the ones who don't have credit to lose anyway." Martha's eyes hardened. "But we don't have Blackwood's influence." After Martha left, Lottie started packing her medical bag. Her hands shook, but her face was set. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked. "What I should have done weeks ago. leaving before I destroy you completely. Like hell you are. Ethan, be reasonable. He'll take everything from you. Then he takes it. But I'll know I stood for something. Lottie spun to face him. You'll lose your land. The last piece of your life with Grace. Grace would want me to do the right thing. Ethan's voice rose. She'd want me to stand up for what matters. And you matter. Don't you see that? I can't let you sacrifice everything for me. You ain't letting me do anything. This is my choice. He grabbed her shoulders gently. I lost Grace because I wasn't there. I won't lose you because I didn't fight. This is different. Is it? Or are we both just scared of being happy again? Scared of caring about someone because we might lose them? His voice dropped. I see you, Lottie. I see how you look at me when you think I'm not watching. I see how you smile when I come in from the barn. I see how you touch Grace's quilt like you're asking permission to be here. Tears streamed down Lottie's face. I don't want to replace her. You're not replacing her. You're showing me I can live again. That I can be something other than a ghost in this cabin. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. 7 days. Blackwood gave us 7 days. Let's use them. Let's fight. If we lose together. But at least we'll know we tried. Lottie nodded. Together. Together. That night, Lottie wrote a letter. She showed it to Ethan before sealing it. What's this? He asked. A letter to my father, telling him about you, about what we're doing here, about why I'm finally proud of who I am. She sealed the envelope. Whatever happens, I want him to know I found my way, that I found people worth fighting for. Ethan kissed her forehead, a gentle protective gesture. He'd be proud of you. Any father would be. I hope so. The next morning, they woke to find 3 more families waiting outside the cabin. They hadn't come for medical care. They'd come to stand with them. Tom Sullivan spoke for the group. Heard about Blackwood's ultimatum. Figured you could use some help around the place. Make it look more proper. More like a real clinic than just an unmarried woman living with a man, Lottie finished. We ain't saying we believe that matters, Tom said quickly. But appearances count for something in this valley, so we're here to help make appearances better. They spent the day building an addition to the cabin, a separate room with its own door, a proper examination space with a bed, a table, shelves for supplies. Lottie worked alongside them, hammering nails, holding boards. Her bandaged fingers had healed enough for light work. Ethan watched her, watched how she smiled at the workers, how she thanked them for every small thing, how she belonged here in a way he hadn't felt belonging in years. By evening, the addition was framed. Not finished, but visible. A statement. This is a clinic now, Tom said. Anyone asks, you tell them that. Miss Ashford is the clinic nurse. Mr. Cole provides the space. Everything proper and above board. After they left, Ethan and Lottie stood in the new space. It smelled of fresh-cut wood and possibility. A clinic, Lottie said softly. A real clinic. Your clinic. She turned to him. Ours. And this time when they stood close, Ethan didn't hesitate. He cupped her face in his work-roughened hands and kissed her. It was gentle, careful, full of questions and promises both. When they pulled apart, Lottie was crying again. Why are you crying? Ethan asked. Because I never thought I'd feel this way again. Safe, wanted, like I belong somewhere. You belong here, with me, for as long as you'll stay. What if we lose? Then we lose. But we'll have had this moment, this feeling, and nobody can take that away from us. They held each other in the new room as the sun set. Outside, the valley stretched white and cold. Inside, something warm was growing, something neither of them had believed possible. Love, despite everything, against all odds, love. But 5 days still remained until Blackwood's deadline. 5 days until the storm hit. and storms in Wyoming territory had a way of destroying everything in their path. The morning of day 5 dawned cold and clear. Ethan was in the barn checking on Duke when he heard horses approaching, multiple horses. He stepped outside to see Silas Blackwood riding up with 2 men Ethan didn't recognize. They wore suits under their coats. City men, the kind who didn't belong in Wyoming territory. "Bennett," Blackwood said, not bothering to dismount. He sat on his fine mare like a king surveying his kingdom. "I see you're still harboring that woman." "Miss Ashford is staying," Ethan said evenly. "She's running a clinic, all proper and legal." Blackwood laughed, cold and sharp. "A clinic? Is that what we're calling it?" He gestured to the 2 men with him. "These gentlemen are from the territorial government. They have some questions about Miss Ashford's credentials, about whether she's legally permitted to practice medicine in Wyoming." Lottie emerged from the cabin. She walked straight toward them, her chin up, her eyes steady. "I'm Charlotte Ashford. I was trained at Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia. I worked for 3 years with some of the finest physicians on the East Coast. I'm a licensed nurse." One of the men pulled out a notebook. "Can you provide documentation of that license, Miss Ashford? It was issued in Pennsylvania. I don't have the physical document with me. It was lost during my travel west." "How convenient," Blackwood said. "I can write to Philadelphia for verification." Lottie continued. "It will take several weeks, but the records exist." The second man spoke up. "Until such verification arrives, you're not permitted to practice medicine in this territory. Any continued practice would be illegal, subject to fines and possible imprisonment." Ethan stepped forward. "She's not practicing medicine. She's providing nursing care. There's a difference." "The law doesn't distinguish as clearly as you might hope," the first man said. He didn't sound happy about it. He sounded tired, like a man doing a job he didn't believe in. "I'm sorry, Miss Ashford, but until you can provide proper documentation, you'll need to cease all medical activities." After they left, Lottie stood frozen in the yard. Ethan touched her arm gently. "It's all right. We'll figure this out." "No." Her voice was flat, dead. "They've got me. Even if I write to Philadelphia, Blackwood will make sure those letters never arrive, or that the responses get lost. He's not going to let me practice, ever. Then we fight harder." "With what?" Lottie spun to face him. "He's got the law on his side now. He's got officials doing his bidding. What do we have good intentions that doesn't count for much against men with power?" She walked toward the cabin, stopped at the door. "I should have died at that train station. Would have been easier for everyone." "Don't say that. It's true though, isn't it? I bring trouble everywhere I go. Boston. Here. Everywhere." Ethan followed her inside. She was packing again, folding clothes with shaking hands. "Stop," he said. "I can't stay, Ethan. You see that now, don't you? If I stay, they'll arrest me. Then they'll take your land for harboring a criminal. Blackwood wins either way." "I don't care about the land." "You should. It's all you have left of grace, of your life before. I won't let you lose that because of me." Ethan grabbed her hands, stilled them. "Grace is gone. The life I had before is gone, and I spent 3 years living in the past because I was too scared to face the present. But you changed that. You showed me life doesn't end just because part of it does." "Ethan, no, listen to me. I love you." The words came out rough, unpracticed, but true. "I love you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you fixed my shoulder. Maybe when you saved Rebecca's boy. Maybe when you stood in this cabin and told me you wouldn't be a burden. But it happened, and I'll be damned if I let you walk away without fighting for you." Lottie's face crumpled. "You can't love me. You barely know me. I know you're brave. I know you're kind. I know you put everyone else before yourself, even when it costs you everything. I know when you sleep, you curl up on your side like you're trying to take up less space in the world. I know you hum when you work. I know you check Grace's grave every morning and whisper something I can't hear. I know you. He pulled her closer. And I love you. I love you too, Lottie whispered. That's why I have to go. Because loving you means protecting you, even from myself. Wrong. Loving me means trusting me to make my own choices. And I choose you. I choose us. Whatever happens. They held each other in the half-packed cabin. Outside, the sun climbed higher. 2 days remained until Blackwood's deadline. 2 days to find a miracle. Martha Hatcher arrived that afternoon with news. Henry had called a town meeting for the following evening. He'd spoken to every rancher and farmer within 20 miles. The people would have their say before Blackwood had his way. It's not much, Martha admitted. But it's something. Henry's got weight in this valley. People respect him. If he speaks for you, others might follow. And if they don't? Lottie asked. Martha's expression hardened. Then we'll know exactly what kind of town we're living in, and some of us will have decisions to make about whether we want to stay. That night, Lottie couldn't sleep. She sat at the table writing by lamplight. Ethan came in from checking the animals and found her there. What are you writing? A record of everyone I've treated since I came here. Names, conditions, outcomes. If they're going to call me a criminal, I want evidence that I helped people, that I did more good than harm. Ethan sat down across from her. Can I tell you something? Always. When Grace died, I thought I died too. Not my body, but everything that mattered. I went through the motions, fed the animals, chopped wood. But inside, I was just waiting. Waiting for time to pass. Waiting for it to stop hurting. Waiting for something to change. He reached across and took her hand. You changed it. You walked into my life half frozen and completely lost, and you woke something in me I thought was dead. Hope. Purpose. The belief that tomorrow might be worth seeing. Ethan, I don't know what to say. Say you'll marry me. Lottie's pen clattered to the table. What? Marry me. Tomorrow. Before the town meeting. We'll ride to the minister's house. Make it legal. Make it proper. Then Blackwood can't touch you with his morality arguments. You'll be my wife. That's as respectable as it gets. That's not why you should marry someone. No, I should marry someone because I love them. Because I want to wake up next to them every morning for the rest of my life. Because I want to build something with them that lasts. He squeezed her hand. That's why I'm asking. The timing might be practical. But the reason is pure. Lottie stood up, paced to the window, pressed her forehead against the cold glass. I'm ruined goods, Ethan. Scandal follows me. I'll bring shame to your name. You'll bring honor to my name, because you're honorable, because you care about doing right, even when it costs you everything. What if I can't have children? What if I'm like Grace? What if... Then we'll have a life together without children. Or we'll take in children who need homes. Like Jesse Chen. That boy's been hanging around here for weeks, sleeping in our barn because he's got nowhere else to go. We could give him somewhere. Lottie turned around. Tears tracked down her face. You've thought about this. Really thought about it. Every day for the past month. We've only known each other 2 months. I knew I loved you after 2 weeks. The rest was just me being too stubborn to admit it. Lottie laughed through her tears, crossed the room, took his face in her hands. Ask me again. Ethan stood, held her gaze. Charlotte Ashford, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me here in this valley? Will you let me love you the way you deserve to be loved? Yes, Lottie said. Yes to all of it. He kissed her, deep and thorough and full of promises they'd spend a lifetime keeping. When they broke apart, Lottie was smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that came from deep inside. Tomorrow then, she said. Tomorrow. They rode out before dawn. Just the two of them on Duke wrapped in coats and blankets against the cold. The minister lived 5 miles outside town. A kind man named Robert Patterson, who'd buried Grace and the baby 3 years ago. He answered the door in his nightshirt, looking confused and concerned. "Ethan, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, Robert. I need you to marry us." Robert blinked, looked at Lottie. "This is the nurse, the one everyone's talking about. Her name is Charlotte Ashford, and she's going to be Charlotte Cole by the end of this conversation." Robert studied them both. "You understand what you're doing, the talk this will cause." "We understand," Lottie said. "We're doing it anyway." "All right then. Come inside. Let me get dressed and wake my wife. You'll need a witness." 20 minutes later, they stood in Robert Patterson's small parlor. His wife Sarah stood as witness. Robert opened his Bible and began the ceremony. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here." Ethan barely heard the words. He watched Lottie's face, watched how she looked at him with everything she felt written plainly in her eyes. Love, fear, hope, trust. All of it there. All of it real. "Do you, Ethan Cole, take Charlotte Ashford to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "Do you, Charlotte Ashford, take Ethan Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do." Her voice shook but didn't break. "Then by the power vested in me by the territory of Wyoming, I pronounce you husband and wife." Robert smiled. "You may kiss your bride." Ethan did, gently, reverently, like she was something precious he'd been given to protect. "Welcome to the family, Mrs. Cole," he whispered against her lips. "Thank you for giving me one," she whispered back. Robert provided a marriage certificate, signed and dated, legal and binding. "This won't stop Blackwood," he warned. "He'll just find another angle." "I know," Ethan said, "but it's a start." They rode back to the cabin as the sun rose. Husband and wife, partners. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Martha was waiting at the cabin when they returned. She took one look at their faces and knew. "You got married." "This morning," Lottie confirmed. She showed Martha the certificate. Martha hugged them both. "Lord help you, you're either the bravest people I know, or the most foolish, maybe both." "Probably both," Ethan agreed. "Well, foolish or not, you're married now. That changes things. Not enough, but some." Martha pulled out a basket. "I brought supplies. The town meeting is tonight. You'd best eat something. Going to be a long day." She was right. The hours crawled by. Ethan tried to work, split wood, repaired tack, but his mind was elsewhere. Lottie cleaned the clinic space, organized supplies, kept her hands busy so her thoughts wouldn't spiral. Around noon, Jesse Chen appeared. The 12-year-old boy had been hovering around the property for weeks, sleeping in the barn, helping with small tasks in exchange for food. "Mr. Cole," Jesse called from the doorway. "Can I talk to you?" "Come in, Jesse." The boy entered slowly, thin and nervous. His clothes were too big and worn at the edges. "I heard people talking in town. About the meeting tonight. About Mr. Blackwood trying to make Miss Ashford leave." "Mrs. Cole now," Ethan corrected gently. "We got married this morning." Jesse's eyes widened. Then he smiled, shy and hopeful. "Congratulations." "Thank you. I wanted to ask..." Jesse twisted his hands together. "Can I come to the meeting? Can I speak because Mrs. Cole helped me when I was sick last month? She gave me medicine when I didn't have any money. She didn't have to do that, but she did." Lottie came into the room. "Jesse, you don't have to do that." "But I want to. You and Mr. Cole have been kind to me. Nobody else has. Not since my father died." His voice cracked. "You let me sleep in the barn. You feed me. You don't treat me like I'm nothing. I want to help." Ethan looked at Lottie. She nodded. "All right, Jesse," Ethan said. "You can come. You can speak. And after tonight, no matter what happens, you've got a home here. With us. If you want it." Jesse's face transformed. Really? Really? You're part of this family now. The boy launched himself at Ethan, hugged him hard. Ethan hugged him back, his throat tight. Over Jesse's head he met Lottie's eyes. She was crying again. Happy tears this time. They were building something here. Something bigger than just the two of them. Something that mattered. The town hall was packed when they arrived that evening. Every seat taken, people standing along the walls. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. Silas Blackwood sat in the front row with his two government men. Dr. Wilder sat off to the side, looking uncomfortable. Martha and Henry Hatcher sat front and center. Tom Sullivan and Rebecca Torres sat with their families. All the people Lottie had helped over the past months. And sitting in the back alone and out of place was a well-dressed woman Ethan didn't recognize. She watched everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. Henry Hatcher stood and called the meeting to order. His voice carried authority. Wait. We're here to discuss the situation with Ethan Cole and Charlotte Ashford. Silas Blackwood has made accusations, called for action. Before any decisions are made, I think we should hear all sides. He looked at Blackwood. Silas, you want to speak first. Blackwood stood, smoothed his expensive coat, looked around the room with practiced concern. Thank you, Henry. I speak tonight not from malice but from duty. This town was built on Christian values, on decency, on respect for proper behavior. He paused for effect. Ethan Cole has been harboring an unmarried woman in his home. A woman with no credentials, no license to practice medicine. A woman who fled from scandal in Boston. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Blackwood pressed on. This woman treats people without proper authority. She takes money from hard-working families. She lives in sin with a man outside the bonds of marriage. Is this what we want Salvation Ridge to be known for? Is this the example we set for our children? He turned to face Ethan and Lottie directly. I take no pleasure in this, but standards must be maintained. Either Miss Ashford leaves this valley or we take steps to force her removal. For the good of the community. Blackwood sat down. The room buzzed with whispered conversations. Henry stood again. Anyone else want to speak? Tom Sullivan rose. I'll speak. For those who don't know, I'm Tom Sullivan. I ranch about 8 miles from here. 3 months ago, I had a leg infection. Dr. Wilder said it needed to come off. Said I'd die without amputation. He rolled up his pant leg, showing the scar. Mrs. Cole saved my leg. Saved my life. Didn't charge me a penny I didn't have. Just asked that I help others when I could. Rebecca Torres stood next. My son couldn't breathe. He was dying. Dr. Wilder wanted $5 I didn't have. Mrs. Cole saved him. Worked for 6 hours straight. Never asked for payment. Just told me to tell other mothers they could come if they needed help. One by one, people stood, testifying, sharing stories. The woman with the difficult pregnancy. The old man with the infected wound. The child with the broken arm. All of them helped by Lottie. All of them grateful. Then Jesse Chen stood, small and scared, but determined. My name is Jesse Chen. My father died building the railroad. Nobody wanted me after that. I was sleeping in barns, stealing food when I could. Then I got sick. Mrs. Cole found me. She gave me medicine, fed me. Let me stay in her barn. His voice shook. Mr. Cole said today that I'm part of their family now, that I have a home. Nobody's ever said that to me before. They're good people, the best people I know. Blackwood stood abruptly. This is all very touching, but it doesn't change the facts. She has no license, no legal right to practice medicine. The territorial officials have confirmed this. Actually, a voice said from the back. The well-dressed woman stood up. That's not entirely accurate. All eyes turned to her. She walked forward with confident steps. My name is Elizabeth Worth. I'm a journalist with Harper's Weekly. I came west to write about frontier medicine. I've spent the past 3 days investigating Mrs. Charlotte Cole's credentials. She pulled papers from her bag. I sent telegrams to Pennsylvania Hospital. Received responses this morning. Mrs. Cole is indeed a licensed nurse. Her credentials are impeccable. She left Boston not because of scandal, but because she made a choice between saving a dying old man or saving a sick child. She chose the child. The Vandermeer family destroyed her reputation for it. Elizabeth looked around the room. I've interviewed dozens of people in this valley. Every single one speaks of Mrs. Cole with respect and gratitude. She treats people Dr. Wilder won't treat. She charges what people can afford, which is often nothing. She's exactly the kind of medical professional the frontier needs. She turned to Blackwood. As for living in sin, they were married this morning by Minister Patterson. I verified it myself. Everything legal and proper. So, unless you have actual grounds for complaint beyond personal vendetta, I suggest you sit down, Mr. Blackwood. The room erupted. People talking, some cheering. Blackwood's face turned red. This is outrageous. You can't just... I can, Elizabeth interrupted. And I will. My article about the Coles and about your attempts to drive them out will run in next month's Harper's Weekly. Millions of readers will learn about Salvation Ridge, about the nurse who saves lives, and about the banker who tried to destroy her for profit. She smiled, sharp and dangerous. I'd think carefully about your next move, Mr. Blackwood. The pen is mightier than the sword, and my pen is very sharp indeed. Blackwood looked around the room, saw the tide turning against him, saw people looking at him not with respect, but with disgust. He grabbed his coat and stormed out. His government men followed. The door slammed behind them. For a moment the hall was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then the whole room erupted in applause. Henry Hatcher banged his gavel. I move that we formally welcome Mr. and Mrs. Ethan Cole and establish a community medical clinic on their property. All in favor? A chorus of ayes filled the room. Opposed, silence. Motion carries. Henry smiled. Welcome home, Mrs. Cole. Lottie stood frozen, overwhelmed. Ethan wrapped his arm around her waist, holding her steady. People swarmed them, shaking hands, offering congratulations, promising help to build a proper clinic. Martha hugged Lottie so hard she could barely breathe. Tom Sullivan clapped Ethan on the back. Rebecca Torres kissed Lottie's cheek. Through it all, Elizabeth Worth watched, taking notes, capturing the moment. She approached as the crowd thinned. May I interview you both? For the article, why? Lottie asked. Why did you help us? Elizabeth's expression softened. Because I was you once. Different circumstances. But I know what it's like to be a woman who chose principle over convenience. Who paid for doing right. The world needs more stories about people like you. People who build instead of destroy. Who give instead of take. She held out her hand. Thank you for letting me witness this. Lottie shook it. Thank you for standing up for us. I just told the truth. You two did the hard part. You lived it. They rode home under a sky full of stars. Ethan, Lottie, Jesse sitting behind them on Duke. A family now. Imperfect and unconventional, but real. We won, Lottie said softly. We won? Ethan agreed. But they both knew the war wasn't over. Blackwood wouldn't forget this humiliation. Men like him never did. They'd have to stay vigilant, stay strong. But tonight they could rest. Tonight they could celebrate. Tonight they were together. And that was enough. March brought the thaw, and with it a kind of peace Ethan hadn't felt in years. The cabin was full now. Jesse slept in the loft they'd built above the clinic space. Lottie had transformed the main room with small touches. Curtains on the windows. Fresh herbs hanging from the rafters. Books on the shelves. It felt like a home again, instead of a place where a man waited to die. Every morning Ethan woke to find Lottie already up checking on patients who'd stayed overnight, or preparing supplies for the day ahead. She moved through the space with purpose and grace. her hair pulled back in a practical bun, her sleeves rolled up ready for whatever came. "You're staring again," she said one morning without turning around. "Can't help it. Still can't believe you're real." She smiled and brought him coffee. "Very real. And very much in need of more bandages. We're running low. I'll ride into town this afternoon. Pick some up from Martha. Take Jesse with you. He needs boots. His are falling apart." Ethan nodded, watched her move back to the clinic. 3 months married, and he still felt like he was living someone else's life. A better life than he'd ever imagined having again. The apple tree by Grace's grave had started to bud, tiny green promises of fruit to come. Lottie tended it carefully, talking to it like it could hear her. "What do you say to it?" Ethan asked one afternoon, finding her there. "I thank her for the gloves, for sharing you, for making you the kind of man who stops for strangers." Lottie touched a budding branch. "And I tell her I'll take care of what she started, that I'll love you the way she would have wanted you loved." Ethan's throat tightened. "She would have liked you." "I hope so." They stood together in the emerging spring. The snow was melting, the world turning green. Everything felt possible. But that night Jesse came running from town, breathless and scared. "Mr. Cole! Mrs. Cole! Something's wrong in town. There's smoke. People are shouting." They rode in fast. Even from a distance they could see flames. The general store was burning. People formed bucket lines passing water from the well, but the fire had too much of a head start. Martha stood in the street, her face streaked with soot and tears. Henry had his arms around her, holding her up. "What happened?" Ethan asked, dismounting. "Started in the storeroom," Henry said grimly. "Spread fast, too fast. This wasn't an accident." Lottie was already moving toward the injured. 3 people with burns, 2 with smoke inhalation. She worked quickly, efficiently, turning someone's porch into an impromptu treatment area. Ethan joined the bucket line. They fought the fire for 2 hours before it finally died. The store was a total loss. Blackened timbers, melted goods, years of Martha's work reduced to ash. When it was over, people stood in exhausted silence. Then someone said what everyone was thinking. "Blackwood did this." "You don't know that," another voice protested weakly. "The hell I don't. Martha spoke against him at the meeting. Now her store burns down. That's not coincidence." Martha pulled away from Henry. Her face was hard. "Even if he did, we can't prove it. And starting accusations without proof just gives him ammunition." "So we do nothing," Tom Sullivan demanded. "We rebuild," Martha said firmly. "We don't let him win by making us afraid. We don't let him turn us into the kind of people who act without thinking." Henry looked at the ruins. "Rebuilding will take money, time, supplies." "Then we'll find them," Ethan said. "Together. That's what we do." Over the next week the community rallied. Men brought lumber. Women brought food. Children cleared debris. They worked from dawn to dusk, building not just a store but a statement. "You can't burn down our spirit." Lottie treated injuries. Splinters, blisters. One man who dropped a beam on his foot. She worked without complaint, without rest, and people noticed. This wasn't the scandalous woman Blackwood had painted her as. This was someone who showed up, who helped, who cared. Elizabeth Worth returned in mid-March. Her article had been published. She brought copies to hand out. "The response has been remarkable," she told Ethan and Lottie over dinner at the cabin. "Hundreds of letters. People want to know how they can help. Some want to send donations. Others want to know if there are more stories like yours out here." "We don't need charity," Ethan said carefully. "It's not charity. It's people recognizing something good and wanting to support it." Elizabeth pulled out a letter. "This one's from a doctor in Philadelphia. He says he has medical supplies he'd like to donate. Textbooks, instruments. Says the frontier needs good medical care more than his office needs extra supplies." Lottie took the letter with shaking hands. Why would he do this? Because your story inspired him, reminded him why he became a doctor in the first place. Elizabeth smiled. You two don't realize what you've done. You've given people hope, shown them that decency and courage still matter. That's worth more than gold out here. After Elizabeth left, Lottie sat at the table rereading the letter from the Philadelphia doctor. I never thought anyone would care, she said quietly. I thought I was just one person trying to do right in a small corner of the world. That's all any of us can do, Ethan said. But when enough people do it, it adds up to something bigger. Do you think Blackwood will try again? Probably. Men like him don't give up easy. I'm not afraid of him anymore. Good, because we've got something he'll never have. What's that? People who actually give a damn about us. Lottie laughed. That's not very poetic. I'm a rancher, not a poet. She kissed him. You're exactly what you need to be. April brought warmer weather and more patience. Word had spread beyond Salvation Ridge. People rode in from neighboring valleys. Some traveled for days to see the nurse who charged based on what they could pay, who never turned anyone away. Lottie hired help, 2 young women from town who wanted to learn nursing. She taught them everything she knew: how to clean wounds, how to recognize infection, how to comfort the dying, how to celebrate new life. The clinic expansion continued. Henry Hatcher donated lumber. Tom Sullivan donated labor. By the end of April, they had 3 examination rooms, a small surgery, and a recovery area with 4 beds. It's becoming a real hospital, Jesse said one evening. He'd been helping with construction, growing stronger and more confident every day. It's becoming what this valley needs, Lottie corrected, a place where anyone can get help regardless of their circumstances. Dr. Wilder started coming by twice a week. He and Lottie consulted on difficult cases. He taught her surgical techniques. She taught him about patient care without judgment. I was wrong about you, he admitted one afternoon. I thought you were competition. But you're something better. You're a partner. You see the work that needs doing, and you do it without counting the cost. You could do the same. I'm too old to change completely, but maybe I can learn a little. He looked around the clinic. This place. What you and Ethan have built. It's going to outlast all of us. That's a legacy worth having. In late April, a letter arrived from Boston. From Lottie's father. She stared at it for a full minute before opening it. Ethan stood beside her, silent support. The letter was short. Dear Charlotte, I received your letter about your marriage and your work in Wyoming. I confess, I didn't know what to think at first. But then Miss Worth's article reached Boston. I read it 3 times. Your mother and I both did. We are proud of you. We were wrong to turn our backs on you. You didn't shame our family. We shamed ourselves by not standing with you. If you can find it in your heart to forgive us, we would very much like to meet your husband and see this life you've built. With love and regret, your father. Lottie's hands trembled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He's proud of me, she whispered. After everything, he's proud. Ethan held her while she cried. Happy tears this time, healing tears. Write him back, Ethan said. Tell him they're welcome here any time. Tell him we'd be honored to have them visit. You mean that? Of course I do. They're your family, and family matters. That evening, Lottie wrote a long letter. She told her father about Ethan, about Jesse, about the clinic and the community, about finding purpose again after losing it, about learning that sometimes the wrong choice leads to the right place. She sealed it with hope. Maybe bridges could be rebuilt. Maybe forgiveness was possible. Maybe family could be found and reclaimed even after being lost. May brought another challenge. A family arrived at the clinic in the middle of the night. Husband, wife, 3 children. They'd been traveling for weeks running from something. The wife was pregnant and in labor. Complications immediately evident. Lottie worked through the night. The baby was breech. She had to turn it manually. Dangerous. Painful. The woman screamed, but trusted Lottie's hands. Trusted her voice saying, "You're doing so well. Just a little more. Stay with me." Dawn broke as the baby finally came. A boy. Small, but breathing. The mother collapsed in exhausted relief. The husband, a man named Samuel, broke down. We couldn't pay a doctor. Couldn't afford to stop anywhere. My wife said she'd rather die trying to find help than die because we couldn't pay for it. "You found help," Lottie said firmly. "And you're both going to be fine. But she needs rest. A week at least before you travel again." "We can't afford—" "You can stay here. We have room. Jesse can help set up the recovery area." Samuel stared at her. "Why you don't know us?" "Don't need to. You're in need. That's enough." The family stayed 10 days. Samuel helped Ethan with repairs around the property. The children played with Jesse. The wife regained her strength while Lottie monitored her recovery and cared for the newborn. When they left, Samuel pressed $3 silver into Lottie's hand. "It's all we have. But I want you to take it. What you gave us is worth more than money. You gave us hope." After they left, Lottie showed the coins to Ethan. $3. For 10 days of care food shelter. That's $3 more than we started with. It doesn't feel right. Taking money from people who have so little. Then use it to help the next person who comes with nothing. Ethan pulled her close. "You can't save everyone for free, Lottie. Even angels need to eat." She laughed despite herself. "I'm no angel. You are to the people you help." In June, Henry Hatcher came to the cabin with a proposal. "I want to build a real clinic building, separate from your house, give you and Ethan your home back, give the valley a proper medical facility." "Henry, that would cost a fortune." "I've got a fortune, and I'm too old to spend it all before I die. Martha and I talked. We want to do this. We want to make it our legacy." He looked at them both. "You two started something special here. Something that makes this valley better. Let us help make it permanent." Lottie looked at Ethan. He nodded. "All right," she said. "But on one condition. The clinic belongs to the community, not to us. Anyone in the valley can use it, and it keeps operating even after we're gone." "Deal," Henry said. Construction began in July. A 2-story building, 6 examination rooms, a surgery, a laboratory, living quarters upstairs for a full-time doctor when they could afford to hire one. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious, but the community threw itself into the work with fierce determination. Ethan worked on the building every day. Jesse beside him learning carpentry and masonry. Tom Sullivan brought his sons. Martha organized the women to provide meals for the workers. Dr. Wilder donated medical equipment from his practice. Lottie continued treating patients in the cabin clinic while watching the new building rise. It felt surreal. Like a dream she was afraid to believe in completely, because dreams had a way of falling apart. "What if it doesn't last?" she asked Ethan one night as they lay in bed. "What if we build all this and then something happens? Fire, storm, Blackwood. Then we rebuild. That's what you do when you care about something. You don't give up just because it's hard." "When did you get so wise?" "I married a smart woman. Some of it must have rubbed off." She laughed and curled against him. "I love you. I love you too." In August, 2 more children appeared at their door. Siblings, a girl of 7 and a boy of 5. Their mother had died of fever. Their father had abandoned them. "Can we stay?" the girl asked. Her name was Emma. Her brother was called Daniel. "Just for a little while. Until someone wants us." Lottie knelt down to their level. "Someone wants you. We want you." "Really?" Daniel asked. His voice was so small, so hopeful. "Really?" Ethan said. "If you want to stay, you can stay. We've got room." Emma's face crumpled. She tried so hard to be brave, but she was just a child. A scared, grieving child. Lottie pulled her close. Let her cry. Held Daniel too when he started sobbing. "You're safe now," Lottie murmured. "You're both safe." That night the cabin was full. Jesse in the loft. Emma and Daniel in the small room they'd converted from storage. Ethan and Lottie in their bed. "We're collecting children," Ethan said quietly. "Is that a problem?" "No. It's exactly right." He rolled to face her. "Grace and I wanted a big family, lots of kids, lots of noise and chaos and love. I thought I'd lost that chance. But here we are." "Here we are," Lottie agreed, "building something neither of us could have built alone. Together. Always together." September brought Elizabeth Worth back for a follow-up article. She interviewed patients, watched Lottie work, talked to the children, observed Ethan teaching Jesse carpentry while keeping an eye on Emma and Daniel playing nearby. "This is remarkable," Elizabeth said over dinner. "In 6 months you've created a functional hospital, adopted 3 children, and transformed this community's approach to healthcare. That's not just a story, that's a movement." "It's just people helping people," Lottie said. "That's what makes it powerful. It's not grand gestures or big money. It's ordinary people choosing to do extraordinary things." Elizabeth set down her fork. "I want to write a series of articles about frontier medicine, about communities that build instead of compete. Would you be willing to let me use your story as the centerpiece?" "Why us?" Ethan asked. "Because your story shows what's possible when people care more about each other than about profit or status. Because in a country that's increasingly divided between haves and have-nots, you're proving there's another way." Lottie looked at Ethan. They had a silent conversation the way married couples do. Then Lottie nodded. "All right. But you tell the truth. All of it. The hard parts too. The fact that we failed before we succeeded. That we made mistakes. That we're not perfect." "That's exactly what makes it worth telling," Elizabeth said. The new clinic building was completed in late September. 2 stories of solid timber and stone. A brass plaque by the door read, "Salvation Ridge Community Clinic, founded by Ethan and Charlotte Cole. All welcome." The dedication ceremony drew people from across the territory. Ranchers, farmers, families who'd been treated at the clinic, even a few territorial officials who wanted to be seen supporting such a worthy cause. Henry Hatcher gave a speech. "This building represents something rare. People putting community before profit, care before cost, love before law." He gestured to Ethan and Lottie. "These 2 showed us what's possible when we choose to build instead of tear down. When we choose to help instead of judge. This clinic will stand as a testament to that choice, and I hope it inspires others to make similar choices in their own lives." Dr. Wilder spoke next. "I've practiced medicine for 40 years, and I'll tell you something. I've learned more from Charlotte Cole in 6 months than I learned in 4 years of medical school. She's reminded me that healing isn't just about medicine. It's about dignity, about seeing every person as worthy of care, about giving people hope along with treatment." He turned to Lottie. "Thank you for making me a better doctor. Thank you for making us all better." Martha Hatcher presented Lottie with a framed photograph. The clinic building. Ethan and Lottie standing in front with Jesse, Emma, and Daniel. A family. A legacy. "So we never forget what's possible when good people refuse to quit," Martha said. After the ceremony, as people mingled and celebrated, Ethan found Lottie standing alone on the clinic's porch. She was crying. "What's wrong?" he asked, alarmed. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." She wiped her eyes. "A year ago I was dying on a train station bench. I thought my life was over, that I'd never matter to anyone again, that I'd spend whatever time I had left alone and ashamed." She turned to him. "And now look. We have a family, a home, a purpose. We've helped hundreds of people. We've built something that will help thousands more. How did this happen? You happened. You chose to stay, chose to fight, chose to love even when it was hard. Ethan took her hands. I was dying too that night, slowly, quietly, but dying. And you saved me just as much as I saved you. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They stood together watching the sun set over the valley. The clinic behind them. Their children playing in the yard. Their community celebrating around them. It wasn't the life either of them had planned, but it was better, richer, fuller. Do you think Blackwood will ever give up? Lottie asked. Probably not. Men like him carry grudges to the grave. Does that worry you? Not as much as it used to, because I realized something. He can't take what matters. He can't take us. He can't take what we've built in people's hearts. He can only take things, and things can be rebuilt. Lottie leaned her head on his shoulder. When did you get so philosophical? Must be all the medical books you've got lying around. Some of that education is rubbing off. She laughed. That full, genuine laugh he loved so much. The sound of a woman who'd found her way home. Jessie came running up. Mama Lottie? Papa Ethan? Emma and Daniel want to show you something. They'd started calling them Mama and Papa a few weeks earlier. Neither Ethan nor Lottie had asked them to. The children just started doing it naturally. And every time one of them said it, Ethan's heart swelled. Coming, Lottie called. They walked hand in hand toward their children, toward their life, toward whatever came next, together. The way they'd face everything from now on. Together. Winter returned to Salvation Ridge, but this time Ethan faced it without dread. The cabin was warm with voices and laughter. Jessie helped Emma with her arithmetic while Daniel played with wooden horses Ethan had carved. Lottie moved between the kitchen and the clinic, checking on 2 patients recovering from pneumonia. This was what home felt like. This was what living meant. The morning of the first snow, a rider came hard and fast, Tom Sullivan. His face was gray with fear. It's Rebecca. The baby's coming early. Something's wrong. Lottie grabbed her medical bag without hesitation. Ethan, get the wagon ready. Tom, when did the labor start? 2 hours ago, but there's so much blood. Too much blood. They made it to the Sullivan Ranch in 20 minutes. Rebecca was in bad shape. The bleeding was severe. Placental abruption. Lottie had seen it before. It killed women, killed babies. But she'd also seen women survive with quick action and luck. Tom, I need you to get Dr. Wilder, fast as you can ride. Lottie was already washing her hands, preparing. Ethan, I need clean sheets, hot water, and I need you to stay with me. I might need help. Whatever you need. The next 3 hours were the longest of Lottie's life. She worked with steady hands and racing heart, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to save the baby, trying to keep Rebecca conscious and fighting. Stay with me, Rebecca. Look at me. Focus on my voice. I'm scared, Rebecca whispered. So scared. I know, but you're strong. Remember when your boy couldn't breathe? You brought him to me in the dark. You didn't give up then. Don't give up now. The baby came finally. A girl, blue and silent. Lottie worked on her with practiced hands, clearing airways, stimulating breathing. Come on, come on. A gasp, then a cry, weak but alive. You have a daughter, Lottie said, tears streaming down her face. She's breathing. But Rebecca wasn't responding. The bleeding hadn't stopped. Lottie pressed, applied pressure, did everything she'd been taught, but sometimes everything wasn't enough. Dr. Wilder arrived 30 minutes later, took one look and started helping. Together, they managed to slow the bleeding, stabilize Rebecca. By nightfall, mother and daughter were both alive, weak, but alive. You saved them, Dr. Wilder said quietly. If you hadn't acted so quickly, we'd be planning a funeral instead of a celebration. Lottie sat outside the house, her hands still shaking. Ethan found her there, sat beside her without speaking. I almost lost them both, she finally said. I was so close to losing them. But you didn't. You fought. You saved them. This time. What about next time? What about the time after that? What if I make a mistake? What if I'm not fast enough or skilled enough or... Lottie? Ethan turned her face toward him. You can't save everyone. Nobody can. But you show up. You try. You give people a chance they wouldn't have otherwise. That's all any of us can do. It doesn't feel like enough. It's everything. They rode home in silence. The children were asleep when they arrived. Jesse had taken care of Emma, and Daniel fed them dinner, put them to bed. He was growing into a fine young man. Responsible. Kind. Everything Ethan had hoped to teach his own son. Thank you, Ethan told him, for looking after your brother and sister. Jesse smiled. That's what family does. In November, Lottie discovered she was pregnant. She'd suspected for a few weeks, but hadn't said anything. Hadn't wanted to hope too much. But when Dr. Wilder confirmed it, the reality hit her like a wave. She told Ethan that night after the children were asleep. He stared at her speechless. Say something, she whispered. We're having a baby. Yes. Our baby. Yes. He pulled her close, held her so tight she could barely breathe. When he pulled back, there were tears on his face. I thought I'd lost my chance at this. After Grace. After everything. I thought that part of my life was over. Are you happy? Happy doesn't even begin to cover it. He kissed her, gentle and reverent. Terrified, grateful, overwhelmed, but mostly just amazed that life keeps giving me more than I deserve. You deserve everything good. So do you. They told the children the next morning. Emma and Daniel cheered. Jesse hugged them both, trying not to cry. I'm going to be a big brother again, he said. For real this time. You already are, Lottie said. Biology doesn't make a family. Love does. Word spread through the valley. People brought gifts, hand-knitted blankets, carved cradles, preserved foods for the months ahead. The community that had rallied around them now celebrated with them. Martha Hatcher cried when she heard. Grace would be so happy. She always wanted Ethan to have a full life. Children, love, purpose. You've given him all of that. He gave it to me first. You gave it to each other. That's how the best partnerships work. December brought a letter from Boston. Lottie's parents were coming in the spring. They wanted to meet their son-in-law, see their grandchildren, make amends for the time they'd lost. I'm nervous, Lottie admitted to Ethan. What if they don't like it here? What if they think we're foolish for living this way? Then they don't understand what matters. But I think they will. They raised you after all. Some of your goodness must have come from somewhere. My mother always said I was too stubborn for my own good. She was right. But that stubbornness saved lives, including mine. Christmas came with deep snow and warm hearts. They celebrated at the clinic, the whole community gathering for a meal, everyone bringing what they could, sharing what they had. Jesse played harmonica, music Ethan had taught him. Emma and Daniel sang carols they'd learned from Lottie. The sound filled the clinic building with joy. Tom Sullivan stood to make a toast. A year ago, some of us weren't sure about the Coles, wondered if they'd bring trouble or blessing. I think we have our answer now. He raised his glass. To Ethan and Charlotte, for showing us what it means to build something that lasts. For teaching us that caring for each other isn't weakness. It's strength. To the Coles, everyone echoed. Later that night, as they walked home through the snow, Ethan said, This is what I want our children to remember. Not just the 3 we have now, but all the children who come after. I want them to know that people matter more than profit. That community is stronger than competition. That love is the only thing worth building a life on. They'll know, Lottie promised, because we'll show them every day. In January, Silas Blackwood died. Heart attack in his sleep. The news shocked everyone, though most people wouldn't admit they felt relieved. His will revealed debts nobody knew about. Investments gone bad. Properties mortgaged beyond their value. The great man of Salvation Ridge had been living on borrowed money and borrowed time. He spent his whole life chasing more, Henry Hatcher said at the funeral. Few attended. Never stopped to appreciate what he had. Never learned that you can't take it with you. Ethan and Lottie went to pay their respects, not because they'd loved him, but because letting go of anger was healthier than carrying it. "I forgive him," Lottie said at the graveside, "for what he tried to do to us. I forgive him." "Why?" Ethan asked. "Because holding on to it only hurts me, and because he lost everything that mattered while we gained everything that does. That's punishment enough." February brought warmer winds and the first signs of spring. Lottie's pregnancy was showing now. She moved slower, tired easier, but she still worked, still saw patients, still taught her nursing students. "You should rest more," Dr. Wilder told her. "I'll rest when the baby comes. There's too much work to do now." Stubborn woman. You say that like it's a bad thing. March brought Lottie's parents. They arrived on a clear, cold morning. Her father was older than Lottie remembered, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. Her mother looked smaller, frailer. Time had touched them both. Lottie stood on the porch, her hand on her swollen belly, unsure what to say. Then her mother stepped forward with tears streaming down her face. "My daughter, my beautiful daughter." They embraced, years of hurt and distance melting in that moment. Her father shook Ethan's hand. "Thank you for taking care of her, for giving her the life she deserves." "She gives me more than I give her," Ethan said simply. They stayed 2 weeks, long enough to meet all 3 children, to see the clinic, to understand what their daughter had built. Her father worked alongside Ethan mending fences and chopping wood. Her mother helped in the clinic assisting Lottie with patients. "I was wrong," her father said one evening. "About what happened in Boston. About turning my back on you. You didn't choose wrong that night. You chose right. And I should have stood with you. You're standing with me now. That's what matters. I'm proud of you, Charlotte. Prouder than I've ever been. You didn't just survive. You built something beautiful, something that matters." When they left, there were promises to return, to write often, to be part of their grandchildren's lives. The family wasn't perfect, but it was healing, and that was enough. April brought the baby, a boy, born at dawn with strong lungs and his father's blue eyes. They named him Samuel, after the man who'd given them $3 silver and hope. Ethan held his son with shaking hands. This tiny perfect thing, this second chance, this proof that life continued. "Hello, Samuel," he whispered. "Welcome to the family." Jesse, Emma, and Daniel crowded around wanting to see their new brother, wanting to touch his tiny fingers, wanting to be part of this miracle. "Can I hold him?" Emma asked. "Very carefully," Lottie said, settling the baby in Emma's arms. Emma looked down at Samuel with wonder. "He's so small." "You were this small once," Ethan said. "All of you were." "Will you love him more than us?" Daniel asked. The question came out small and scared. Lottie pulled Daniel close. "Love doesn't divide. It multiplies. I love each of you completely. Samuel doesn't take away from that. He adds to it. Promise? Promise." May brought Elizabeth Worth one final time. Her series of articles had created a national conversation about frontier medicine and community care. Hospitals in other territories were adopting the Salvation Ridge model. Doctors were volunteering to work in underserved areas. The ripple effect was spreading. "You started something bigger than you realize," Elizabeth told them. "Your story has inspired dozens of similar clinics across the West. Hundreds of people are getting care they wouldn't have otherwise. That's your legacy." "It's not about legacy," Lottie said. "It's about doing what needs doing." That's exactly what makes it powerful. Elizabeth took a final photograph. Ethan and Lottie standing in front of the clinic with their 4 children. Samuel in Lottie's arms. Jesse, Emma, and Daniel standing proud beside them. A family. A future. "What will you do next?" Elizabeth asked. "Keep working. Keep building. Keep showing up." Ethan looked at Lottie. At their children. At the clinic behind them. "That's all we've ever done. That's all we'll ever need to do." June brought a surprise. A young doctor from Philadelphia arrived, fresh from medical school, full of enthusiasm and ideas. "I read about your clinic in Harper's Weekly," he said. "About what you're doing here. I want to be part of it, if you'll have me." His name was James Porter, 26 years old. Skilled hands, kind eyes, everything the clinic needed. "We can't pay much," Lottie warned. "I'm not here for money. I'm here because what you're doing matters. Because medicine should be about healing, not profit." They hired him on the spot, gave him the upstairs living quarters in the clinic. He started work the next day and never looked back. With James handling more of the daily cases, Lottie had time to focus on teaching. She started a formal nursing program, training young women from across the territory, giving them skills that would serve their communities for generations. "You're building an army of healers," Dr. Wilder observed. "I'm building hope," Lottie corrected, "one student at a time." July brought a letter from the territorial governor. He wanted to visit, to see firsthand what the Cole family had accomplished, to possibly model other community initiatives on their success. "We're not special," Ethan protested when the letter arrived. "We just did what needed doing." "That's exactly what makes you special," Martha said. "Most people see what needs doing and find reasons not to do it. You saw it and acted. That's rare." The governor's visit was brief but impactful. He toured the clinic, met with patients, spoke to the nursing students. Before he left, he shook Ethan's hand. "You've shown us something important. That government programs aren't the only answer. That communities taking care of themselves, taking care of each other can accomplish more than any legislation. Thank you for that lesson." August marked 1 year since the clinic building opened. The community threw a celebration. Music, dancing, food. Stories shared about lives saved and families helped. Jesse was 17 now, tall and strong, talking about becoming a doctor himself. Emma and Daniel were thriving in school. Samuel was crawling, getting into everything, filling the house with chaos and joy. Ethan stood with Lottie watching the celebration unfold. "Do you ever think about that night?" he asked. "At the train station, every day. Do you wonder what would have happened if I'd ridden past? You wouldn't have. That's not who you are." "But if I had?" Lottie turned to face him. "Then we both would have died. Me from the cold, you from the emptiness. We saved each other that night. Everything since has been us learning how to live again." "I love you," Ethan said. "More than I thought possible." "I love you too. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for staying. Thank you for choosing me every single day since." "Easiest choice I ever made." They danced under the stars. The clinic behind them. Their children playing nearby. Their community celebrating around them. It wasn't perfect. Life never was. But it was good. Real. Full of meaning and purpose and love. September brought the first frost, and with it a sense of completion. Elizabeth Worth's final article was published. The closing paragraph captured everything they'd built. The Cole family of Salvation Ridge proves that history isn't just written by the powerful. It's written by ordinary people who refuse to be ordinary, who see suffering and respond with compassion, who face injustice and respond with courage, who encounter brokenness and respond with healing. Their clinic still operates today, serving thousands. But their real legacy isn't a building. It's the reminder that one person's choice to stop, to help, to care can change everything. For themselves, for others, for the world. Lottie read it aloud to the family that evening. When she finished, there was silence. Then Jesse said, "Is that really us? Are we really that important?" "No," Ethan said. "We're just people who showed up, who tried, who didn't quit when it got hard. Anyone can do that." "But most people don't," Jesse observed. "No, most people don't. That's why it matters when someone does." Winter came again. Their third winter together. The children were growing. The clinic was thriving. New students were training. More lives were being saved. One evening, Ethan found Lottie at the window looking out at the snow. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Grace." Ethan stood beside her. "What about her?" "I think she'd be happy, with how things turned out, with how you turned out." "I think so too." "Do you still miss her?" "Sometimes, but not the way I used to. Before, the missing was all there was. Now it's just part of the picture. A sad part, but not the whole thing." Lottie leaned against him. "Thank you for letting me be part of your story, for making room for me in your life. Thank you for being worth making room for." They stood together as the snow fell. Inside, the children were laughing. The fire was warm. Tomorrow would bring patience and problems and all the challenges of living. But tonight, there was peace. Years later, when they were old and gray, people would still talk about the Coles, about the rancher who stopped for a stranger, about the nurse who chose to stay, about the family they built and the community they transformed. The clinic would expand, train hundreds of nurses, save thousands of lives, become a model for rural health care across the nation. But the real story was simpler than all of that. It was about two broken people who found each other in the darkness, who chose to heal instead of hide, who built something beautiful from their pain. It was about love, not the easy kind that comes without cost, but the hard kind, the kind that requires showing up, trying again, choosing each other even when it's difficult. It was about redemption, the kind that comes not from forgetting the past, but from transforming it, from taking what broke you and using it to build something that heals others. And it was about hope, the stubborn, defiant kind that refuses to quit, that sees winter and believes in spring, that faces death and chooses life, that encounters darkness and becomes light. That night at the train station, two people were dying, one from cold, one from grief. But sometimes, when you save someone else, you save yourself. Sometimes, when you open your heart to another's pain, you heal your own. Sometimes, the greatest thing you can do is simply stop, help, care. Ethan Cole stopped that night, and in stopping, he found everything he'd been missing. Charlotte Ashford stayed, and in staying, she found everything she'd been seeking. Together, they built something that outlasted them. Not just a clinic, not just a family, but a legacy of compassion, of courage, of love that transforms everything it touches. And that, in the end, is the only story worth telling, the only legacy worth leaving, the only thing that truly lasts.